Can you hear me now?
Hey, I'm John Peachey. Welcome to the People Mechanics podcast. Hey, a recent survey of 4,000 leaders across 6 different countries were questioned about the state of leadership in their organizations. What we learned from this particular piece of research, I think, is sobering, if not surprising, that 33%, a third of organizations said they didn't have enough leaders to meet the current need of their organization. I mean, that's huge, right? But 50% said they really doubted if they had the capacity for the coming years in terms of leadership development and leadership capacity. That's somewhat of an existential crisis. I mean, everything comes out of the mind of leadership, right? Leadership directs everything, presents culture, and holds beliefs in place about the organization. So we have to be paying attention to the quality of our leaders. Speaking of quality, I've followed a company for quite a number of years now who are known in 2 very different worlds. They're an international company, Kiwi-based, Kiwi-owned, Autex Industries. They're involved in soundproofing and a range of, I think, really market-leading products, both functionally, acoustically, and also aesthetically. Some really amazing stuff. Of course, you will also know Autex Industries as one of the key players in supporting for a very long time the New Zealand Warriors. Their managing director is Rob Woolner. Rob, nice to have you on the program.
G'day, John. Nice to be here.
Mate, how are those wires doing? Going all right?
Look, I'm glad we're having this conversation this week, not 3 weeks ago, but look, really good again. And I think leadership in that space has been really refreshing over the last couple of seasons, and you can see the impact of it.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's a whole program by itself, I think, talking about the Warriors and their progress and the leadership. It is critical, though. I mean, I guess sitting as the managing director, you've got a whole bunch of people who are leading throughout your organization, different departments, different areas of the business. How critical is appointing the right people? Rhetorical question, maybe, but how critical is it?
Oh, look, I think it's everything. And I think appointing the right people, giving the right people opportunity, I think is great too. And never easy to do. Where's that transition point of people stepping up, and leaders or more senior people not having to step down into the day-to-day. So I think for the longevity of a business, it's critical. You certainly have turnover of more senior people. They've got to leave the business at some point. And I think too, senior people don't always know everything. It's really an array of people across your business that have different skills and expertise that bring leadership to the table. You don't have to be a leader to, with a title to sort of show leadership. I think that's critical.
No, I think that's key. I think you're right, and I love the statement. I didn't employ my leaders to tell me for me to tell them what to do. I employed them for them to tell me what to do in their particular area, and it's true, right? You can't be all things to all people as an MD. You've got to focus on the critical things that you focus on, and so let me ask you a question around that. Then, what is Rob Woolner really great at in the business?
Look, that's a good question, and it's hard to sort of find things, speak about what you're good at, I suppose. But I think connecting people is always something I like to do, and I think too, being able to have those honest conversations. There's as MD, you sort of get pulled into a range of different situations a lot of the time, and you don't always have the skill set to work through it. But I think just trying to be honest and open and with your people, I think, is key. And I'd like to think that's something I'm relatively good at.
Mate, that's a pretty good thing to be good at, to be quite honest. Being open and honest with people. I mean, people are not stupid, right? They know where the shortfalls are. They know where the skills are, and being honest about it, I think, is really helpful. We're not fooling anyone when we're sitting in the top chair, are we? Everyone sees us and sees the way that we behave. Where do you have to spend the most amount of time in the business?
A good question. And look, I've been lucky enough to be with Autex for quite a while through a range of different roles, from an account manager where I started through to where I am today. So it's an interesting challenge working through an organization and through different roles. In my role now, I'm much less transactional. And I think, a lot of people are very busy transacting a lot of things during a day. Whereas as you become more senior, you have more people that are that are owning those departments and those day-to-day tasks. So you become, I guess, less in the detail and a bit more high level and strategic. So that's certainly where I spend my time. It's connecting out in the market with other businesses and other leaders. I think that's really important, and also trying to lift Autex as a brand and as a business. We've spent a lot of years just getting on with it ourselves. I think very internal. You know, we know what we're doing, and we're going to go after it ourselves. But there's a point too where I think you've got to lead as a business, and that's in the manufacturing sector for us. You know, it's starting to work with some of these bigger picture things, you know, in terms of pay gaps and equality, and we've got a big Pacifica workforce. Again, how do we nurture that, you know, bring that culture into our business, and then also provide ongoing opportunity for them too, you know, for those great people that are working really hard in our business. So yeah, that's sort of where I spend my time. It's sort of more big project based, but you do still get drawn into the day to day, and you know, things always pop up that you need to jump into and get involved. But I'm lucky enough to have, you know, really good people across all our departments that are just so capable. The hardest bit's not jumping in and not sort of being a nuisance, to be honest.
Yeah, I've had some interesting comments from people about leaders. When the leader walks in the room, everyone goes silent, fears what they're about to say next, because they know very little about the subject they're tackling. So it's pretty smart to know what you know, right? And to let smart people do their job. You talked before, you mentioned, you know, leaders having to step down into the business. I guess that's the firefighting stuff, right? And it seems to me that what you're saying is really smart. If you can spend more time at the strategic end of the business, then that seems to be the way to go. Did you find it difficult when you stepped into that MD role? And I see I just checked LinkedIn, and you've been there 4 years now, so your anniversary is coming up next month. Fantastic.
Right.
Birthday cake. But did you find it difficult stepping into the MD role and having to release some of the stuff that you would have had your hands on previously?
Definitely, but there was opportunity, you know, through different times over that 4 years where you do need to jump down and get, you know, back on the tools and pretty hands on, and it's something I enjoy. So it certainly was challenging, stepping away from that a little bit. Your instinct is, let me jump in and take that over and do it. But actually, the real learning and the real opportunity for people is allowing them to go on that journey and be able to do that. So I think it's a sounding board. You become more of a sounding board. You know, you have an opinion that you need to share, and it's just an opinion out of many. But I think too, you're there for you know, those points of escalation, reaffirming, you know, what your teams are doing, providing guidance, providing support, and I guess trying to set the culture and the tone to create an environment where people can be their best and do some great work.
Well, I think that quote I'll clip out and paste on LinkedIn, because I think that's a stunning quote, really. For me, it's a servant leadership model, right? Allowing people to be their best and doing what you can do to make sure they are at their best all the time. I think it's a pretty stunning statement. I wish more leaders would think about that, actually. And so that kind of, you know, makes me think, you know, ego doesn't have a great place in senior leadership, really, doesn't it? You know, you've got to be able to hand off to people. You've got to be able to trust people. And I think as you're mentioning, if you can hand off skills to other people, knowing that potentially you're better at it than they are, but allowing them to do it, that's the learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Look, and people can see through things pretty quickly, I think. So I think too, as a leader, you got to make those decisions when people aren't the right fit for the business too, you know, and you want everyone to come into your business and be successful and be great, but sometimes there's not a fit. And I guess for both parties, sometimes you've got to be able to jump in and call that and have those conversations, and you're really balancing the right group of people on the right projects, you know, working with the right people within their team. So that's certainly a balancing act, and it is, like you say, people, it's all about people. You know, I spend all my time almost in and around that people aspect of our business.
Yeah.
And lots of little things. It's not just that big. It's not the big pieces all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge advocate of the fact that, you know, when we're in a senior leadership position, the business we're in is the people business, right? Because there's a whole bunch of people we've got to get feeling good and empowered and pointed in the right direction. I'm intrigued by your comment about having to have some of those tough conversations when someone just isn't a fit. That's painful, isn't it? Because they're part of the family, part of the Autex family. But it definitely occurs that some people just are not a fit for the future of the organisation. I remember Richard Branson talks about, I'd rather employ on personality than skills, because I can train someone in skills, but if the personality is wrong, things will never be right. Do you angst over those conversations?
Oh, look, I think we all do. We want everyone to be successful and be happy and be their best here. And look, sometimes people need a new challenge that we just can't give. So we've had people that leave Autex to a new challenge and then come back. So I think you got to have room for that. And it's I think as a leader, you've got to be able to call those things out sometimes and have some of those harder conversations.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, and it is tough. I mean, if you're a people person and you don't like hurting people, but you have a business to run, and I often think, Rob, that it's doing somebody else a favor too. If they're not the right fit, they're hurting, you're hurting, the organization's hurting, and it's good for them to go and find, a place. I often say to people, a place where you feel loved and you feel like your skills are welcome, and find that place. In terms of challenges on a day-to-day basis, or maybe a short-term basis, what's the biggest challenge for you in the manufacturing sector as an MD at the moment?
I think too, we're in the building sector. There's a lot of change going on at the moment, and there's a lot of commentary out in the market. So I think through these times there's also opportunity. So I guess it's which mindset you want to take. You can jump on board and sort of look at the negative side of what's going on, or you can look at the upside where there's some opportunity. We're in an interesting position that we're global. Like you said, we've got branches in other markets which bring different situations in different markets and different opportunities. So it's not just New Zealand. We're not wholeheartedly tied to New Zealand, but that's my remit. That's what I'm responsible for. So we want to be here for a long time. We've been around for 67 years and multi-generational family ownership. So there's a sustainability piece. It's not just about performance this year or next year. It's around how does Autex change and flex to be here in another 50, 60 years. So it's very dynamic in the product development side of things for us. We've morphed in and out of a range of products over the years. So how do we stay true to the manufacturing element of what we're doing, but stay up to speed with new products and new development and new opportunities? So New Zealand's very different to the other markets. We're quite mature in terms of where we're at. They're still on an early growth journey in some of the US and the UK. So lots of different complexities across the business. So it's myself interacting with other MDs in other markets, plus the ownership, the shareholders and stakeholders, to make sure everyone's happy and knows where we're going and takes advantage of some of these opportunities that are coming up.
You can't disregard it. I just want to pick up on something you said about the family business, 67 years. That's pretty remarkable, and it's becoming, unfortunately, rarer in this market. I was looking at some stats on the Fortune 500 companies from the 80s and 90s, and there are virtually none of them left. I mean, it's phenomenal how companies have actually folded and gone. The family aspect of the business, the New Zealand Kiwi-owned family business at Autex, is that a positive driver? Is that something which you're aware of, or the staff are aware of on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I think massively. I don't know why I said 67 years. We're 54 years, but we were started in 1967, so that's
Okay.
But a long time anyway. But look, I think the family ownership's massive for us. Very family-orientated company, and when you say family, the owners of our business sort of look to staff as family. I think it's family working within the business, and I think it really does provide some overarching strategic value. We're doing things not just for a company and anonymous shareholders. There's a real element of where we've come from and where we want to go. So it's a massive part of what we do. And again, that's why I think there's a real fit. There's people that really thrive in that environment. And, we don't try and be a big corporate, and, we know who we are, I think, and we're fairly comfortable operating in that family space.
Yeah, I'm reminded when I was talking with Roger Gray, the CEO of the Port of Auckland recently, he talked about family, and he talked about the Pacifica cohort of his staff as well. And I think 30% of his staff are Pacifica. And it's so important, isn't it, to recognise culture in that regard. He has the thing called the 4Fs, which, if I get them right, is family, faith, food, and footy. I mean, they're massive Warriors fans on the port. So you've got some cheerleaders down there. But recognising that cultural piece is pretty darn important, isn't it?
Absolutely, and something I'm just so impressed by. You know, culture pops up right throughout our business and a lot of the events that we have. And it is really unique. You know, I think it's something you can't just drop into your business. Our business has always been, you know, had a great Pacifica element to it, and I think it's something that we're really proud of. I'm really proud of, and you know, we sort of encourage it. And we've got a Samoan lunch this week that we're celebrating sort of that cultural side of that with our team, and yeah, it's something I really value, and I know the business. I know Mark, our owner, he values that also.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. It's so good to hear. Just one last question before I let you go. And my guest is Rob Woolner, the Managing Director of Autex Industries. Man, I'd love to have you back to talk about innovation, because I have watched the company and some of the product releases and some of the really fascinating finishes in soundproofing and things. You know, have a lot to do with the education industry, and of course your products are right throughout there, keeping the kids quiet or keeping the classrooms quiet. But the big question I want to finish with really is what are you most excited about now in your industry or in Autex? What's really making you fizz?
We've got some pretty exciting projects coming up, and I think too it's that constant evolution. So we started making underfelts and carpet underfelts, and yeah, we made bedware, and we imported radar detectors at one point and put sunroofs in cars, and went into carpet and into insulation and acoustic products. So, you know, acoustic products is what we're all about at the moment, but I think in 10 years time, it may well not be. You know, I never thought when I joined the business, carpet was a real hero product for us. And you would have got laughed out of the room if you said we weren't going to make carpet at any stage, and we're not making carpet now. So I think it is dynamic, even though, you know, it might be a 5, 10 year, 20-year cycle. So what am I excited about? I think natural fibers for us. We're fairly dominant in polyester and PET at the moment, which has got some great properties, and you know, it has some good recyclable stories, and we're really working on closing the loop. How do we take back product from market, turn it back into new products? You know, we're taking our offcuts, and we've developed some technology that is sort of a world first, that repelletizes that into a format that we can mold some of the fittings and fixtures that go with our products. So taking waste and turning it into things that can then be, you know, reconstituted down and back up to the top of the product cycle again and turned into new products that we then use. You know, that's exciting. It's how do you prevent product going to landfill? How do we get really innovative in how we deal with our waste and our products, so that someone can purchase our products, and then when they finish with them, deconstruct them, turn them into something else, and really address that construction waste. That's a huge issue. So we're looking at natural fibers, you know, quite heavily invested in wool and some other things that will come to market fairly soon, which is exciting.
That's such smart conversation, Rob. Such smart thinking. It really is. It's exciting to hear what you're doing, because it makes the brand far more. Well, the brand just travels further, doesn't it? When people hear the kinds of things that you're talking about, it means that you're really thinking deeply about planet, about community, about family, about business. So Rob Woolner is the Managing Director of Autex Industries. I encourage you to have a look at their website. They've got some really revolutionary products. Mate, great to talk to you. I'd love to have you back again and continue a conversation.
Thanks, John. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Nice to see you.